end of the month. I mean, every last Thursday of the month, we will bring in somebody that is come to add tremendous value to us. And I'm excited to be joining us again from Eco Innovation Center. 50 Awolowo Road, where we have a situated Eco Innovation Center, which has a mission to be able to support startups in their endeavor to scale up. And we offer both pre-incubation, incubation, and acceleration services for startups in an attempt to help them scale by providing those hand-holding and support services that they need to be able to scale their ventures and be able to scale their impact. And TechBiz platform happens to be one of those ventures or platforms where we seek to be able to offer support, insights, and holding mentorship, leadership that is required for startups to be able to scale. And what does TechBiz do, which is talking about the business of technology, is that we bring subject matter experts who come to share with us about 45 minutes what they've learned over the years in their journey of entrepreneurship, to make sure that they share with us strategies, tips, insights that can make the journey easier for startups in an attempt to scale their ventures. And nice to have everyone of you on the call today. And today promises also to be another exciting day in which we're talking about a topic that I find quite pertinent for a time like this. A lot of uncertainty. A couple of minutes ago, I was speaking to a friend who was talking to me about the impact of devaluation. I think the dollar has crossed for the first time in its history 1,400 naira to a dollar. People have to deal with things around the infrastructure. They're dealing with high OPEX costs. And so when we're talking about issues around the economy, I think it's important. And so we see that the challenges of the 2025 economy, which is more global, but a lot magnified in this environment, unravel critical aspects that we need to discuss about. And many of these things have created quite a number of shutdowns, challenges, headwinds for our startups. And that's why we think looking at the economic landscape is something we should talk about. During the webinar today, we'll highlight common pitfalls startups face in identifying their customer targets. We want to offer them a comprehensive understanding of the challenges and how to navigate. And our guests will also share practical insights and hacks for early stage startups. What we like to do every time is we like to bring people who are also in the trenches. So it's not just about people who read and want to share. These are people in the trenches. They are building, they are active startup builders, and they are the ones we always bring to the platform to share insights. If you check what we have done in the last 106 episodes, which you can find on our website, all you have to do is go to www.ecoicent.com/webinar. You will find 106 we have 105 different episodes of TechBiz where we brought in different subject matter experts who've come to share with us about, and you find the recordings, you'll find the presentations in there, and we find them quite instructive. They've shared about how to use model canvas, how to patent your business, how to build and forge your teams, how to build go-to-market strategies, and investment readiness strategies. So you'll find all that in there, and I encourage my colleagues to drop the link of how to get into that particular environment and be able to see the 105 different episodes and take some learnings. And should you have questions, clarifications, you need a bit more support, something you need maybe a resource, my colleague will also drop the link to our community. We've got about 3,000 tech ecosystem players and actors, which we come together in a WhatsApp forum and a Telegram forum where we support each other and we answer questions and we respond and we talk to people about the latest trends, and we will try going forward all the presentations from TechBiz. I will encourage my colleagues to also drop in the WhatsApp group afterwards so that you can be able to make it is a resource environment where you can see all the support materials that you need for your journey. And so our guest speaker today again is to provide, the goal will be to empower startups with knowledge and tools to navigate the challenges and achieve sustainable growth with a focus on minimizing the cost of acquisition costs. Because with this kind of headwinds, with cost of infrastructure, cost of operations running, our cost of acquisition needs to begin to come down. We need to see how we can better acquire customers, and that's his strength. When I read his profile, you'll find out. Okay, so this topic today, as we discuss the economic landscape for startups in 2024, this topic offers a comprehensive guide for startups to not only survive but also to be able to compete well in this landscape. And And a quick one about who our guest speaker today. He's dialing all the way from Ankara in Turkey, but he's got tremendous experience navigating this ecosystem. He's a co-founder of a B2B organization, and what he does is that he leads a B2B revenue generation agency as a co-founder, and they're focused on startups and impactful small ventures and he's always had his background in journalism, in content writing, in advertising, and he's pivoted in the last 6 to 7 years thereabout in growing a company that operates in the Middle East, helping organizations generate revenue, specializing in go-to-market strategy, demand and lead generation initiatives for B2B tech companies and business who are into cloud computing, who are into cloud security, prop tech, edu tech, enterprise solutions. So again, it's to make sure that we offer people a varied experience. So for this, you're seeing someone who does B2B sales. For people who listen to us and who are into that B2B environment, wondering how to navigate, budgets are being called, how do I do that? That's why we thought this would be quite instructive for us. He's got over a decade experience in content writing and editing across print and digital media. He's a seasoned strategist and he's been recognized by globally acclaimed platforms, the Wall Street Journal and Japan's Nickel Asia Review. I've also talked about his work and the things he's done. His organization, like I said, helps with sales enablement. And for him, he's been able to help drive the strategy beyond content creation. His data-driven insight, customer-centric approach in growth marketing, and systematically enhances the customer's journey for increased conversion and successful deal closures. And we need that now more than ever before. He's driven by a mission to empower B2B businesses to realize growth goals and to expand their influence in the competitive market and landscape amidst all the headwinds. And so, ladies and gentlemen, again, a subject matter expert on this, all the way from Ankara in Turkey, and he's got vast experience running business across Middle East. They've got clients and revenue paying people across the whole of Middle East. Join me in welcoming Amar Shabzi as the co-founder of Convert B2B, as he shares with us insights into how we can navigate the economic landscape for startups in 2024. My friend, glad to have you again on the call, and I look forward to having a wonderful session with you today. Again, for all our viewers across the platforms, just drop your questions as you move in the chat rooms. You will be speaking for about 30-40 minutes, and then a quarter to the hour, I'll come back with him and we'll look at all your questions. And you can always raise up your hand, you can unmute your mic, or you could drop your questions in any of the chat rooms. My colleagues will put that together, and I and Amara will be doing justice to your questions later in the hour. Thank you, my friend. You've got the floor.
Thanks, Victor. Thanks for having me. Should I share my screen right away?
Yes, please. You can share your screen. Thank you.
Perfect. There we go. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's coming up. You'll see it in a minute. Yes, we see your screen. Right. You're good to go, sir.
All right, glad to be here. And also, before I begin, there are certain parameters that I want to set here, because as I was discussing with you earlier, some of your audience members would understand some of the terms that I'm going to use here, who are, deeply invested in the B2B space or the startup space. But I've tried to keep it very much for the layman, the language. I've tried to avoid numbers to scare people away. And one very important thing, as a journalist, I know how to, I rather believe in narratives. I prefer not to, talk in numbers and blocks of thought. Rather, I would like to sort of take it as a story, as a step-by-step guide. And it's very basic, very elemental for people who, as I was saying, who have an idea and they don't know what to do about it. And if they want to start something for businesses, for B2B space, I would say that, again, everything that I say can be contradicted, can be argued against, can be debated, but that's how marketing works. And each slide can also be a master course of 1 month. Nothing ends. So it's a very elemental, very basic stuff. But I hope this will give you a roadmap on how to sort of start and move forward. If you are still sitting at your home with an idea that, okay, I have a tech product and I want to move forward, what do I do? What's the next step? So let's begin. Basically, I'll start by saying that the startup space globally, especially if you look at the US, that's pretty dark, at least for now. Like if I start by saying, this is my introduction again, you have repeated it. I don't want to go again about it. My basic introduction, the reason why I'm here is that I co-founded a growth agency like 3 years ago. Before that, I was a freelance writer and editor. And prior to that, I was a journalist, a full-time journalist. I've worked for the Wall Street Journal and the Nikkei Asia Review, and then I started my growth agency. And now I'm I'm basically focused on the Middle East primarily. I do have clients in Australia also, but my company focuses primarily in the Middle East space. So yeah, I'll just smoothly take you step by step, and just to make sure that you listen to me. And if I'm not sure if you get to have the presentation afterward, but I think this is a very elementary course on how you should navigate the B2B space if you want to get into that. So yes, but again, there is a disclaimer. If you just look at the situation right now in the startup world in general, it's pretty dark, because if you see what happened last year, the state of startups in 2013, according to Carta, 761 startups went bankrupt in 1 year. And the most dangerous part of it is that out of that, 121 of them had managed to raise above $10 million. So they started good, they had $10 million, they did some business, and still they had to shut down. So, CNN termed 2003 as the extinction level year for tech startups. So, this space is pretty shaky as we enter 2024. And if you look closely, things are not yet bright. Though, there are arguments, the macro issues, that capital was cheap, interest rate was low, people were trying to, throw money into startups that didn't really have any hope anyway. But, they were just trying to find a Google or a Facebook and make money out of it. So they were basically wasting money. But I believe that it's more than that. I believe that the startup culture generally, though in last year it was terrible, but in most cases, as you will notice, in general, 9 out of 10 startups fail in the first 5 years of their existence. So this is a pretty dark number. And why does that happen? Well, there are I'll show you the reasons, but primarily what I feel, or what generally is the case, is that the companies or the startups, they fail to find the right market for their product. And they just start with a hunch, with a gut feeling, and they think, okay, now let's see what happens. If they're lucky, they will find some pre-seed money. They'll find some VC backing, and then they will move forward and they'll realize, okay, it's not working. Now think about it, like in the past 5 years, it means that you have survived, but yet after 5 years, you get to lose pretty much 90% of the time. Then again, another stat, which is again coming from CBS Insights, it's 50% of them fail in the first 18 months. So when you look at the main causes behind this failure, you notice one thing, and that is this. If you look at the ones that I marked, I'm not sure if you can see it, the exclamation points I put here. Why do startups fail? CBS Insights say that 42% fail because they have misaligned product market fit, 42% of them. Then we have ineffective sales and marketing. Now, I'm just focusing on the ones that I believe is the number one cause of these demises, these deaths. Misaligned product market fit. You have ineffective sales and marketing, of course. Then you ignore customer needs. Then mistimed product launch. So these are the things that, if you count that, though now I figure out that I should have, put the number together, but it's almost more than 70% of the time, these startups are failing because they fail to market their product. They fail to find customer who is ready to pay and use their product. That's as simple as that. Then you have other issues. Maybe, if you're a fintech, you have legal problems. That's like 8%. Then, and this is also an interesting problem. You don't have enough skill, but you think you have a skill. That is also a red flag, but you don't realize that. It's just like, being a bad singer that you don't know. If people think, you think you're a good singer, but you're bad, and you go out there and you just get humiliated. So that is there. Then you have a wrong team. Sometimes you just don't have the right kind of co-founders, your friends. Insufficient funding is the second highest problem. That's 29%. But again, I'm saying that we saw that in the previous slide, that even if companies that managed to gather 10 million for as funding, they also failed. So mostly what happens is, and by the way, let me be clear, this stat is across the board. It's not I'm not talking about the B2B specifically here, but it's across the board. The problem is for all B2B and B2C companies. But I'm going to focus, and of course, the factors are the same in both the cases, in both B2B and B2C. So starting from as I've just mentioned, that more than 70% of the time, the B2Bs or B2Cs fail because they don't know how to sell their product. It's as simple as that. And why does that happen? In the B2B context, it is difficult for several reasons. One being, I'll come to that here in this particular presentation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a very, I'm just going to set my parameters about what I'm going to discuss here today. As a business, as a organization, or as a startup, you basically have two different dimensions that you work on. One is the internal one, where you have your finances, your internal HR team, the engineers who are developing the product, then customer success people. Suppose you sold a product, then how do you handle the customer complaints? These are all internal stuff. And they are as crucial for success as the ones that I'm going to discuss. And they are your users, your buying, the people who make decisions when they are about to buy your product adaptation, and revenue growth. So I'll be just dealing with the external traction, the external issues that companies face. So moving forward, I'm just going to give you a very brief intro to what a B2B is. I hope, I'm assuming that most of us know, but again, B2B is basically any business that sells to another business. It's as simple as that. I'm reiterating this definition for one reason, because just to give you an example, a B2C company sells, for instance, t-shirts, soaps, fashion stuff, and individual customers. The end customer is an individual, is a person. But when it comes to B2B, it's basically a business trying to sell to another business, right? So when you think about it, a B2B organization is, I'll just, if I give you a simple example, suppose you're selling MRI machines. Now, an individual will never buy an MRI machine. You know who your buyers are, and they are basically hospitals or clinics. I mean, so the kind of products that are designed to serve businesses are called B2B, right? And this can, of course, you have many examples. If I give you one example, it would be, say, ERP installations, like, the ones companies use to, improve their processes. Or you have these SaaS models where people, I mean, just a simple, interesting idea would be some HR. I'm sure you guys also use it in your business, some HR tech that sort of streamlines your finances, your payrolls, and it's not for individuals, but it's used by organizations generally. So, and also, before I move forward, here I'm only talking about B2B that are in the SaaS space, pretty much. If I give you an example, what a SaaS is basically a software as a service company or a product that you pay them, I mean, that you use and pay them monthly or yearly. It's a service that is, and then there are other models, and these processes or the steps that I'm going to explain, this can also be implemented for other type of SaaS businesses, sorry, B2B businesses, like reserved services. Like, you go to a business, you say, okay, I'm going to help you digitalize your whole system. We just give you that service. Or for instance, there are services like now these days you have like the vision services. For instance, you have this AI vision inspections in manufacturing sectors, where you basically put cameras that are intelligent, and they will inspect your goods, whatever you are producing. So these are all services that are given to businesses from your business or any other business. So here I'm going to just talk about businesses that are trying to sell their product to other businesses. I hope I cleared my point. But of course, if there's any confusion, you can always get back to me at the end of the presentation. Then I'll be more than happy to explain. So moving forward, one thing is for sure, and that is B2B is basically hard to crack. Why? Because when you try to sell a product to a business, businesses are generally laid back. If it's a successful business, things are happening smoothly, they don't want to change anything. They just don't want to disturb. I mean, they will never want to change their internal culture, right? So it's very difficult to explain someone that, okay, if you use my product, it will help you save money. But again, generally what happens is people are just averse to risks. They think, okay, it's running smoothly, we're making money, I don't really need any changes, I'm good. So that's one thing. Second is the decision-making process. In business, especially when we talk about businesses are like enterprise level businesses where you have departments. So you don't have really one decision maker. The person, maybe the CEO is the one who's going to sign the check, but he's going to ask different, suppose the finance guy. So you think this is worth it? Suppose you made a software for an architectural firm, just give you an example. So they will also ask the user. So, okay, you think an architect, do you think this helps you? You think this is better than what you're using right now? And then they were going to ask the finance guy, you think this is worth it? Then they will, maybe they'll talk to other stakeholders in the industry. They'll talk to some experts in that industry, in their industry. So we have this new product. It's not there yet, but I think this is good. What do you have to say about it? So the decision making is not like, buying a T-shirt. They will take a while, and it's a complex decision process. So what happens is generally what happens is these kind of things takes a while. But more than that, the danger is that you don't really know who to talk to. So you understand what I'm saying? Starting from the get-go, things get a little tricky. Second thing is these are expensive stuff. Like if you build a product for a uh, high stake business, this is an expense, and businesses don't want to spend money on something they're not even sure if it's great. Because I'm talking from your perspective. You're trying to sell something totally new to a new business. Okay, so you're untested. So that's another problem. Then you have the customization needs. Now every business is different. You don't know if they I mean, yeah, they're in the same space. Maybe there are 10 different architecture firms who have internal culture that are different from each other. So it's difficult. So they would always, I mean, you cannot make a product and say, okay, it suits everybody. It has its own customization needs. Then you have educational hurdles. Like if you sell to a company, the staff needs to be trained. They have to take out time to learn your ways of doing things, which is, I'm sure, even if it's smoother, it's efficient, but it costs time, and people don't want to just break from what they're doing and buy something from you because it's because you want them to, right? But the most dangerous thing is they already have a solution. Okay, they already have a solution that's established solution, and to break in as a startup is extremely difficult. And the last one, as I mentioned, is the budget constraints. Budget constraints there. Nobody wants to pay money for nothing, especially if they don't need it desperately. So you see, in the B2B space, getting in is pretty tough from day one. So, but still, there are startups that are doing it. Some of them are successful. And I'm not surprised that the 9 out of 10 do get shut down. That's part of life. So you understand these threats, like, when you're getting in somewhere, these are the things that are staring right on your face, and you don't know how to navigate each one of them. So moving forward, so how do you break in? You don't until you find your problem solution alignment, right? Like now, let me give you an example here. You have, for instance, a machine that you want to sell to a business. The business already has a machine that does the job, but it does it badly. That's why you think that your solution is better, right? That's why you think that, okay, if I do this, it'll be more efficient, and I have a market for that. Now, the thing is, that's what you think. That's the problem. What you need to do is you have to sort of take a back seat, and you have to find people in the industry to test your idea. Now, at the start of the conversation, I said that whatever I'm going to tell you, it's mostly about companies that are bootstrapping. They're just sitting with an idea, and they want to test if their ideas work or not. So the best, quote that I always admire, I don't remember where I heard it. It says that in startup culture, it's always better to try fast and die. Sorry, try and die fast. It saves you a lot of money and time. So if you have a product, and that product you think is going to change, or it's going to affect the way things are presently working, that better be not only good to your eyes, but the early adopters. Now, what you need, I'm not talking about the product itself. I'm talking about the process here. So if you pay close attention, you will realize what I'm saying is you're not selling anything yet. You have a product, okay? What that product can be is, for instance, you develop, as I said, a software for architecture firms to sort of go out there, and they do everything through AI, and it masterfully changes the way things are being done as of now. Just an example. But that's what you think. The problem is, no matter how awesome your product is, people are not going to adopt it until they think that it is going, they have to be basically lured into thinking that they have to fear that, if I'm not using it, my competitor will use it and is going to grow 10x from me. That awesome you have to be. This is number one. Secondly, your product has to be easy to test. Now, when I say test, you basically, what you do with the product when you bring it out, you find 30 people who are the early adopters. By early adopters, I mean, if you have worked on a product, for instance, this architectural software, if you have invested your time building the product with your engineers, you need to know people in the industry. You have to be in touch with them on a daily basis in the industry. Okay, this is a problem. This problem is huge, and people will pay me to solve it. And this problem is going to stay if I don't do anything about it. And the problem will, the market is huge enough. The TAM, or the addressable market, is too big enough to sort of make it into a unicorn after, say, 10 years. These are very, very important questions. Now, I'm not talking about, you're not going to the market yet. You're just sitting at home talking to your friends, the engineers, the coders. So when you talk about these things, it's the very early stage. You're not outside. You're sitting at home. You're talking to the industry professionals, and they are the early adopters. You go, you knock at the door. You said, sir, I've seen that all these companies in this particular space are facing this problem. I have this solution for you. Test it. You think if I bring it to you, how effective is it? Now, what is the key characteristic of early adopters? They should be in your personal circle, honestly, because if you have been dealing with a problem for so long and it's all based on your gut feeling, then probably that's not the right way to go about it. When you're building a product, you should go out and talk to people on a daily basis. Then, and most important, they should also be willing to pay you for this. This sort of tests that, okay, yes, I took the money out of his pocket. It means that the product has some value. And these guys should be the ones who need the solution desperately. And you have to figure this out before even you go there and do the product. See, this stage is sometimes, it takes a long while. This product, the solution, problem solution fit is the core part of this whole idea. Because if you don't solve a problem big enough and people are not willing to pay for it, and they just think, oh, it's a good to have, okay, then it's difficult to say that you will survive for the next maybe few years, maybe 5, 10, I don't know. So there should be people who are willing to give you very detailed feedback, and it's better to have people who are micro influencers, active on Twitter. So if somebody likes your product, such people, they should just send a word out, and you start getting traction. Now, if you think about it, I haven't still spent a single penny on marketing. I'm just working on the product at this stage. You need to be out there. And when I say out there, it means digital. If you're making a SaaS sitting in Nigeria, for instance, and you want to sell it to somebody in the US or Canada, you know people in LinkedIn or in Twitter who you think is your ideal customer, right? And the ideal customer, you just pin them, you just call them, you just send them a cold email, a pretty personalized cold email that I've been a fan of your work, I'm just working on this. What do you think I should do? Just give them a password. If it's a SaaS, they can operate remotely. Just let them in, let them have a look at your UX UI, let them get a feel. Say, okay, do you think you will buy it? And yes, okay. You just ask them these questions. These are the questions actually. What is the real problem? What current solution you have for these problems? Who or what are you replacing or displacing? These are the questions that you need before you sort of, you basically get these answers from the early adopters for sure. So, so who are we replacing? Who are we displacing? Why are we changing? is it worth it? Is it worth the change? I mean, is the problem big enough to give me the kind of rate of return that I'm expecting, say, 2 years from now or 3 years from now? So these are the questions, and they have to be. There's a magic number that I have in mind, but it's not considered perfect. You should basically talk to 25 to 30 people who you think perfectly match your early adopter criteria. Someone who is in the space, who are micro-influencers, who you think really need this product that you're selling. And then you take detailed feedback. And now I'm reiterating again, I'm repeating it here, that you need to have the kind of patience, because you're not selling it yet. You are trying to see if this sells or not. If this process is done well, then you have hope. And this is just, you will see people, they won't pay you. They'll say, it's good, but let's see. We'll see how it is. There are already so many out there. You get that. So you need to find 20 to think at least 20-25% of early adopters should agree to your assumption about the market. Whatever assumption you made before making that product, you should get that from 25% of the people, that the problem you're solving is really worth solving for the price. It's a very critical thing that people ignore. They think that, okay, we'll just launch and launch. No, just take it easy. You don't have to launch and waste money. Because this is what, if they don't move forward, back to the drawing room, simple. At this stage, because what happens is, just close your eyes and think about how many people you meet every day. We hardly meet, one-to-one. I'm not talking about of course, even online, digitally. We don't talk to more than 10, 20 people in our whole day, right? So the thing I'm trying to say is, when you have a product here, you think that this problem is urgent. But as you can see the numbers, in 90% of the time, that is not the case. So you step out, you talk to people individually, and you take your time. It may take 6 months, it may take a year. You're bootstrapped. You're not spending money. If you're an engineer, you can pull it off yourself. And most founders are engineers, right? If you're a coder yourself, just talk to people, and you lock in a particular space, industry, and you just talk. You talk to the early adopters, or call them people who are genuinely, if they need it or not. So moving forward. Now, I'm just, since I have a long presentation to go forward, so assuming that you have a decent product, they pass the validation test. We validated the text. Then the next step is to basically develop the value proposition. Now, we are cautiously moving towards the great launch, right? We're moving forward. I'm assuming that the 20-25% of early adopters, that it's a brilliant product, it's going to go, and we're ready to pay. Moving forward. So this happens for a value proposition. Basically, have 4 core questions. Again, what your product solves, what problem you solve, how you add value to the operations of the company, very important, and how is it different, read superior compared to the present situation options. You have to be at least 10 times better than what they are using right now, if you really want to make an impact. And that's a fact. Like, you have to blow people's mind away, or it's very difficult to sell. As I said, business to business selling is hard. How does your solution positively impact the owner? And also, you need to, of course, the amount that they're paying, that has to save them some sort of money. You understand what I'm saying? This is very critical. You have to show that, okay, using my product is bringing you, is either it's, cutting your cost, or it's making you some sort of profit. These are the lines that, that melts a business's heart, quote unquote. You need to show them, I'm cutting your cost, or I'm giving you some extra money, making money if you buy this. These are the core. Now, I hope you guys are following. We have the product, Then we have the early adopters who confirms that we have reached the problem solution fit. Then we basically have a value proposition based on the 4 questions: how we add value, how we solve the problem, how we are superior or different, and how it's going to help them impact their rate, ROI, cutting cost or increasing profit. Then you come to the buyer persona. What is the buyer persona? Persona, you just see that, okay, the early adopters were these guys, and I try to sort of now, I'm going to the market, and now I'm finding my customers. How do I do that? You basically make a fictitious profile. Age, gender, location. You want to start small. Suppose it's your own city, or you want to do it abroad, depending on your size. You think, the early adopters think, they're a small company or a big company. Who's going to take it? What is our industry? More importantly, the roles and responsibility. Who am I going to talk to? Who is my ideal, the ICP? Basically, we're trying to get to our ideal customer profile. And it comes out of the buyer persona. The buyer persona is a fictitious profile, and then we put in the numbers, and the ICP emerges, right? So, we put in the details, and the ICP emerges. So we have the role, decision-making authority. Who are we talking to? Is it the VP? And when I say decision-making, it's basically not the CEO. We're talking about the user. We always target the user. Whose in life is going to impact in the organization the most? The CEO is going to just sign the check. Okay, he doesn't really know what your product does. So it's always the user that you have to, take in, you have to convince, or you have to buy. So the decision-making authority, influence within the organization. Okay, I'll be honest with you, all these things, nobody can tick all of them correctly. You can have the basics, like the demographics, correct. Then you don't know the internal dynamics of an organization, how powerful or effective the person is. But you should at least know the user and who else he is going to talk to when he is going to make the decision. And another very important thing, where do they go for information if they search or research about a new product? Like if I want to buy a new software for my organization, where do I go for information? And you have to be there. We're coming to that. But this is, once you have a buyer persona, you put in the details, you put in Sales Navigator or Apollo, people who use them, they know well. Your people, then ICPs emerges. Okay? You have a value proposition, that you have a value proposition there. Then you have ICP. You have a product, you have a person. Now what you need is a story. We are going towards go-to-market. I hope you're following the narrative here. My presentations don't have numbers, they just have stories. So I'm just taking step by step. So there you are. We have a value proposition, A, and then we have an ICP, a market segment that we know is ready to buy our product, or who we can impact most. So what we need is a story. Moving forward, story is basically important because you are trying to build a brand. You have to stand out, you have to be memorable, and at the same time you have it's basically positioning yourself in a way that people remember you. Simple as that. A story, I'm sure you listen a lot about, business storytelling, brand story, business story, all that. But what it is basically, it's basically like a logo of yours that makes an imprint in their mind. And the story, mostly, it's about position that you take vis-a-vis your other competitors. How I am different, how I am the best, and how I'm going to impact you. This story, this brand story, has to be translated into messaging, and we're going there. But you have, again, I'm repeating myself so that we follow the thread. It's the value proposition. We have something of value. We have an audience, and now we have a story. That is basically the forward to the messaging, right? So moving forward, we are now heading towards the low-cost consumer acquisition channels. Value proposition is there, ICP is there, positioning / you can say story is there, and then we have the channels, right? So to this point, I think apart from the engineers, if you guys are founders, I'm sure you haven't spent much money yet. You're just talking to people, you're just trying to reach them out, just making sure that your problem fit, the problem solution fit is there. So yes, moving forward, the GTM strategy, you have basically these two, outbound and inbound. Now, again, I'll be very honest, the simple difference between inbound and outbound is, in inbound, you open a shop and you expect the customer to come to you, walk into your shop. In outbound, you go door to door. This is the best definition of inbound and outbound, the difference. In outbound, you go to them, and inbound, you basically build a website primarily so that they come to you. And how you do that, we all know content and stuff that's there. But outbound, initially, people don't know you. Your website is like maybe 1 year old. You don't have any brand equity. You haven't spent much. So you basically do what you do. You knock them on the door. You go with cold email. One of the most effective ways to win. I think it's spam and blah, blah. But cold emailing can get you a lot of meetings, appointments where you can demo things and stuff. In outbound, you basically have cold email, cold calling. Paid ad is expensive, but it works. I wouldn't recommend paid ads right away, but yes, you have paid ads, that option, and LinkedIn outreach. In these four, through these 4 outbound channels, you can actually get to see more people and have an audience, build an audience. Again, in B2B, you don't need traffic. You don't need like 10,000 people to come to your website every day. What you need is the right people. You need the right accounts. If you have like first 20, 30 customers, they'll spread your word. Then next year you will become 300 and then 3,000. It spreads like that. So you need to know the cold email strategy, LinkedIn outreach. And by the way, LinkedIn, if you use the paid LinkedIn, you know what Sales Navigator is, the premium account. It is very detailed. So the outbound is there. You're reaching out to people. You're trying to talk to them, and you're making sure that they are listening to you. You're giving more and more demos and stuff. So it's working, right? And then you're going to outbound. Now, outbound is a long-term game. Let me be very, very honest. You have outbound. Suppose you have those keywords about your product. You set it there. You basically, in the long run, the SEO pays huge dividend. They're massive. Like, if you can rank on the first Google page, you have a lot of traffic, you have a decent website, people see the use cases, they like your product, they buy it. SEO, but it's long term. It takes at least a year. People, if somebody's promising you SEO magic in like weeks, don't work with them. It takes a long while. Then you have a blog which you need to build. It sort of gets there. And then you have webinar, of course. You set up an event like this. You have relevant people. When you talk about relevant stuff, only the relevant people will show up. So that's how you build your lead game. Then of course, the long run, you have podcast. But the inbound game is something that's, then you have, of course, lead magnets. You prefer reports. You put them on your website and you see people liking them, downloading them, giving you your email address so that you build your list and you reach out to them later. But the inbound game is relatively, it takes a while. And it's not, I'm not saying this is expensive, but it at least requires time and patience. But the outbound is, it's fast. You don't really spend any money. Maybe you would need, for cold email, you need a few subscriptions like Clay and Apollo for contact details. Cold calling is also, you have some softwares, you can just call people and get things done. LinkedIn, again, is cheap. So I'm talking about getting a traction here, just seeing how you are doing it. And you give yourself, now give yourself a realistic sales target, suitable to any, this will, again, it depends from deal size to deal size. Like if you're selling a very fancy cybersecurity software, to enterprise level companies that has to pay, for instance, $100,000 annually for your subscription. If you can manage to sell 2 to 3, that's a success. And then you have, something like what do you call it? Slack channel, give you for enterprise, for instance, per user you pay $2. So even if you make 1,000, it's still okay, not great. So depending on your industry and space, you basically keep yourself, give yourself a realistic sales target, 3 months. And again, the numbers matter here. Here, the numbers will count. Okay, in 3 months, my early adopters said that I have a great product. Then I go out predominantly with outbound efforts, okay? Predominantly with outbound speed. And then I see, okay, how much did I make? If you keep yourself, I mean, of course, depending every industry, every space differs, but you should know by now that in 3 months how much you can sell. And by the way, this sell has to be done by the founders. No sales team, nothing. This is only the founders. The nerdy engineers have to do the sales. Or if you have a co-founder who is a marketing guy. Because you are not spending on salespeople. You're not paying for leads here. You don't. Because that's stupid. At this stage, you need to convince at least, I mean, giving a safe number, 100 people. Say, if 100 people are there who bought your subscription for 6 months to 1 year, that's a good good success rate. Again, 5 is also huge if it's a huge deal size, depending on that. So the founders have to do the walk. They have to take that plunge of themselves and walk the talk, and they have to prove that, okay, now I'm going to, if you can match that 3 months of your sales target. If you failed one in the first quarter, try in the second quarter, third quarter. Once you do that, once you have set up the pattern, then you hire the sales team, and then you tell them, okay, I have sold 100 of these. Now do that 1,000 times. Then that will be their, that will be their job. So if you assume that the founder, I've been a product and the sales guy is going to take care of that, I'm sorry to say this, but it's not going to work. Because as a founder, you know the problem more than anybody else. A sales guy cannot replicate you. The kind of people that you met, the sales guy you hired, he did not meet. The kind of questions that you heard, the kind of objections you received, the sales guy did not. So if you assume that you can outsource the sales responsibility to someone else, that's a bad thing. I'm an agency. I do exactly this thing, but I wait. I say to the founders that, okay, do you have any success? Before, I don't want to look like a loser, right? So I tell them that, look, if you have sold something, tell me, I can scale it. Don't just give it to me and hope that, it's going to happen. It doesn't work that way. So you basically, if you have managed to attain the desired number, say 2 or 3 quarters, it is time to always go for the analyze your product's impact. So how do you do that? You can use basically several metrics. You see, when you're selling those products, if you manage to get that to that number that you gave yourself for 2 quarters, customer feedback, you have usage metrics. Now everything here depends, like what North Star you're following, right? How many sales you made, was there any price sensitivity? Like, if the customer changed, a competition changed their price, then your price suddenly people stop buying. So you think your product is price sensitive. What is the ROI for the customer? You think the customer is making some money out of it as we promised. Are you getting referrals? Are people talking about it? Are customers paying you? So this is the last one. I'm sorry. I think I stressed it a bit. If you did that, you are on your feet. If you manage to follow those steps that I said, you have a product market fit. And I think that's the end of my long presentation. I hope it was okay. I'm sorry, you're mute, sir. I can't hear you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Amar, for that beautiful presentation. And I'm sure it was quite enlightening for most of our people as you went into the rudimentary, especially for a time like this where, again, the headwinds are many. I mean, your statistics are showing how many startups, get to lose it in the first year, and how many 90% are gone in the first 5 years.
Yeah.
In 18 months, 50% of startups are gone. And again, the statistics on this global standard, and I think coming into Africa, where we're dealing with a couple of things around exceptional inflationary cost. We're dealing with issues around devaluation of the currency. We're dealing with technology infrastructure cost because, again, we have people. You need the softwares, you need the hosting environment, you need infrastructure to build, and we see these things are paid in FX, and so there are huge headwinds. We also have huge institutional constraints. Many of the things you should be able to do online, you find that the exorbitant costs to get them to happen in here. So when you break it down this way, where we try to lead people to how you generate a lot more income and revenue for your business, then I think it makes sense. It's and that was quite insightful. And I think for me, quick takeout is ultimately a business is a business because you're making revenue. And so, yes, if there's anything anybody wants to learn from this, is the fact that you're only in business because you're making sales, you're selling products, you're getting customers, they're paying for it. The best way to beat inflation, the best way to beat economic headwinds, the best way to navigate, the best way to take away sleepless nights is to sell more and sell more and sell more and get more revenue. Okay, and two quick things I'll take is the inbound versus outbound. Okay,
Yes.
So many startups, we want to just do that, the 30% part where you wait and you want people to come to you. Oh, they say I'm shy. Oh, I don't like talking too much to people. I like to just do my thing. Hey, you've got to do the hard stuff, and it's the hard stuff that needs to happen for us to get things done. I see somebody wants to ask a question. I will unmute. Bolatito, can you unmute? And then we take that question, then we'll go to the chat room. I think there's someone who wants to ask a question. Can we unmute the person?
Hi, good evening. My name is Damla. Thank you for the
Okay, Damla, good.
Thank you, man.
Insightful, should I say, class now, because it seems like more of a
Yeah, it is. It is.
So for me, we run a startup called Max Files, and basically everything you explained is what we are sort of doing, with the exception of using LinkedIn sales. And I think we then need to then go and work on our business storytelling. Those are the two things I quite got from the class and was quite insightful. One thing I would like to ask is, for us, we're already making traction. We have about 16 companies, and we sold about maybe 400 and something licenses to these 16 companies. For us, our major challenge has been raising capital. So I mean, we've gotten the tractions, we've gotten first users, and the companies that are using us are quite large commercial banks. So raising capital has been a challenge for us. So I don't know if you want to touch on that. And then secondly, because we are running a SaaS model, and just like the facilitator just mentioned, we run our application on in AWS, and the dollar cost now is hitting us because we are basically a document management business. We help companies manage all their unstructured data to help them make them become intelligent information. So how would you advise that we go about handling those two situations?
Okay, from my experience, I would. Can you hear me? Okay, yeah. So from my experience, I think what you should do is, as far as the raising capital is concerned, that is a tough one. You know, I mean, I've worked in Pakistan for a while. You know, if you're in a developing country, especially with, you know, as you said, economic headwind and all that, it's hard. Let's accept that first, okay? I think I don't know if you're ready to sort of give you equity, what conditions you have in mind, but I think you should stop thinking that, you know, somebody from the West is going to come and rescue us. I mean, it has to be local. Okay, I'm sure there
Thank
are
you.
tons of. That's very
That's
important.
my day. Thanks.
That's very important. That's very important. You know, we think that, you know, I don't know whether, I mean, you know, I mean, from Silicon Valley, they will come and they will rescue us. No, you look, you have to realize one thing, that mashallah, you have established something great. That's wonderful. So you need to find local investors. You need to sort of divide up your shares or equity, and try to, you know, include people from your community. This may sound quite far-fetched, but things are happening. You know, you need to find alternative sources. What I'm saying is that if you expect, you know, some Wall Street guy will show up with tons of stacks of dollar, that doesn't happen in our kind of countries, honestly. I mean, I'm also coming from Pakistan. I was raised there. There are huge talents there, but we are made different. You know, if you think we can take aspirations from Silicon Valley and places like that, it's good if you're awesome. Yes, if you're lucky, but that's not how it works. It has to be local, and it's going to be difficult. And as you said, that your devaluation is, I mean, killing you. It's in my country, it's the same. Like, I belong to Pakistan, but I live in Turkey. Here also, the economy is terrible. Like, in 5 years, the dollar has risen 300%. So things are bad. Like, but I'll tell you what, if you have traction, you should be proud of yourself, number one. Number two is, I don't know, I mean, the cloud service, I don't exactly, I mean, I need to look at more details here, but I would say that the cost system is something that I'm sure you can cut a lot of cost because you're coming from a developing country, right?
Yeah.
But you need to keep the traction going. Like, you know, the dollar thing, I really don't have an answer for that. I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you.
But I think, Omar, just to lend a voice to what you've said, I know most startups in this part of the world, and you just nailed it. And Damilola, this again is one of the things I would say, because we're going to have this roller coaster for the next 24 months. And I was speaking with quite a number of policymakers, and I said, if we're not careful, it will be decimation of quite a number of startups, promising startups, but the OPEX challenges will knock them off, pressure of inflation. What he said is spot on. Let's not wait for that, superstar coming from somewhere that's coming to rescue shiny armor. What I think we need to do is, again, mezzanine finance. Some will be debt, some will be equity. The time needs to go where you want to own 99% and chips on our shoulders and say, oh, I own it. I think the world has moved beyond that. You need to survive to own something. So my advice always to startups is, you might not like local founders. They might be more demanding. They might not be the type that will throw you money and walk away, but you need them to weather this investment winter. And it's going to be here for a long time. Again, what this does, which coming from experience, I'm also, I hope everybody can hear me, or I'm not lost. Can I see, okay, can someone just, okay, good, thanks, thumbs up. Yeah. Again, I'm in the trenches. I build, and I can tell you that for most people, again, one of the things you need to learn and understand is raising funds in your local currency is also going to save people around this time. Now, many of the people you've looked forward to and you've envied and have taken things in FX, now for them to meet their milestones for next drawdown and all that, it's going to be tough for a lot of people because of those conversions. So, but people who have taken investments and equities or whatever in local currencies are likely to, weather the storm, and then they can get back on. I think Amar is getting some issues with his. So I hope that answers. But back to the issues around AWS and issues around your infrastructure costs. One of the things I'll suggest is, if you're building something that is very strong, begin to look at local hosting opportunities. Again, there are quite a few of them. We might need to look inward. There are quite a number which I'll share maybe on the community group. Let's begin to explore, what does it mean to move. I mean, I did move one of our hosting of our companies from an FX denominated email server domain to one that was going to charge me in Naira, okay? Because Naira is my reality. I earn in Naira. So those are the things we have to do for the next 18 months for startups to survive. If not, many will be lost in there. I hope that helps, but if it doesn't, we can take this conversation forward, going forward. Amar, are you back? I saw that your video was hanging a bit. Can someone, okay, for a startup looking into expanding base, Please, the link to the community, can we have my colleagues, can you drop it as we quickly want to round up this? Drop the link into the community and also the link into these where we have the webinars and the recordings. Please drop them into the chat room again. I'll take it from there. For a startup looking to expand base by making partnership with other businesses, how would you advise we go about that? Amar, do you want to take that if your video is back? Okay, I still think his video is still hanging. So did you see that question? I think there's a lag. There's a lag between the network, Amar. So I think for that question also, so that we can quickly wrap up in another 4 minutes, again, is to explore partnerships. The best way to be able to move, when you move into new geographies, your valuations go up. Because again, you diversify the risk. Most risks are localized. The risk in UK is not the same in US, not the same in Israel, or the same we're experiencing in France or Pakistan or Ankara in Turkey, where my friend is speaking from. So when you diversify your presence and your operation, your valuation goes up because you've mitigated risk. And the best way to always go into new locations is just go and begin to look for people in your industry who are doing operations there. Check their websites, review their reviews, and set up a meeting online. Those might be interesting ways to get it to happen. And you just never know, magic just happens. It's like dating. Again, you need to know your values are right. You need to check their works. You need to make sure they match you and that they're going to bring value to you. That's the way you can do a geographical spread. But the best way to enter into new geographies is to strike partnerships in those local regions. Is the only way to go. And if possible, don't always go boots on ground, packing everything and setting up, so that again, you come in and there's such challenges. It's easy for you to be able to roll back some of your investments that you've done going out there. But internalization drives up valuation, and it's very good. It's a safe haven for any business. I think Amar is back, but I think
can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I'm actually.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can. Go ahead. Okay. I think he's struggling with his network connection there. It's Nigeria has issues, but I think it's a global thing again. So issues everywhere. So again, back to it is to say a very challenging economic landscape as I seek to round up another 2 minutes that we're faced with. But we think that as we continue to share strategies, and I was speaking with a policymaker earlier today, it's time we sit also with people providing infrastructure and begin to have conversation around Naira payments for some of this infrastructure. They need us to continue to do business, and I think many of those conversations will begin to happen because if infrastructure cost is not localized, then many of the startups might experience their demise. So these are part of the things that ecosystem players and builders are looking to have conversations, and as we have information about that, we will share with you. But for many of you also, you should be able to engage who's providing your infrastructure service to you and see how you can, make sure that they're paying local currency.
Respond, and for some reason my voice.
Yeah, we can hear you, Amar. Just final words if you've got some. Okay, I think the network.
Hey, listen, I can hear you.
Can everybody hear me? If you hear me, a thumbs up for me, please, just to be sure it's not my end.
I hear it clearly.
Okay, good. But thank you. So again, I mean, we're struggling, Amar, but I'm sure you drop some thoughts, you drop some notes in here as we round up. But I want to just say a big thank you to everybody that was part of TechBiz today. We're quite delighted to have quite a number of us. We will drop the slides in the community today, and the recording will drop by 12 noon tomorrow. And my colleagues have shared the links to the community so that you can go through the slide, you can share them, you can talk through them. And if you have questions, drop it in the chat room. And all recordings and presentations will be in that link up there that is shared, and you also can join the community. And again, this is TechBiz brought to you from Eco Innovation Center, an incubation accelerator that helps and provide hand-holding and scale-up services to startups who operate in this geography and Africa in general. And we have a mission to support as many startups in this ecosystem to be able to scale. We're more than excited for all the people who have been part of this, and we look forward to being able to host you same time in another 1 month. But the last Thursday of February, we will have another TECHBIZ where we have another subject matter expert come to speak to us about something very prolific that will help us in this journey. I mean, it promises to be an interesting year. If there's a parting words I have for all the startups on this call and everyone, do not get overwhelmed. A ship never sinks by riding on the waves and the water. The ship begins to sink when there's a hole in, and it allows the water to come in. So irrespective of the headwinds, irrespective of the challenges, irrespective of what the economic forecast or the things look at, you focus on how you can grow your business, focus on how you can generate revenue, focus on building one step at a time, and make sure you are bootstrapping. Make sure you are bootstrapping, cutting the cost, running one step at a time, and you will find out at the end that you will survive and your startup will thrive and scale. Because when you scale, then you scale your expert. That's been it for me. I remain Victor Benga Folabi, the host of TECHBIZ and the founder of Eco Innovation Center. Thanking everyone for keeping a date with us today. And I look forward to hosting you again and the last Thursday of February, where we have another exciting conversation. Do have a great weekend starting tomorrow. And if you have further questions, please engage us in the community. I'll take it up from there. Thank you to everyone, and do have a great evening. Bye.